For the next video in this series, I want to talk about the area of overlap between two systems. So if we see the diagram where we have two circles and the way they move together, there's the whole sense that as two systems come towards one another, and certainly as far as human beings are concerned, there's what's called an approach avoidance conflict. We move towards somebody and away from them, and they move towards us and away from us, trying to work out this middle zone. At what level am I going to relate to this person? So I'm going to talk about systems here that apply right across the board, be it nations interacting with one another, or families interacting with one another, or companies merging with one another, or you name it. This happens right across the board. But I'm going to talk about it in particular as far as human relationships are concerned. So this approach avoidance conflict. But eventually, if two people choose to have a relationship, there is this zone of overlap. And this is potentially the war zone. No, it's not potential. This is the war zone, because this is where things get worked out. Every relationship all the time is involved in a power struggle. So this area of overlap, and this diagram is often called a Venn diagram, and then we draw these cross lines which you can see as being swords because it's a war zone. So it's carved up into four different areas. I potentially in this relationship occupy this area over here in the diagram, which will be over here as you see it, and that's me and you. So I'm here, you're there, and we are fighting over this ground. So I may move further in this direction and take up more space from you, or you may move further in this direction, take up more space than me. We've got this area here where we're struggling to negotiate this space between us. What we're looking for is what we have in common, so that this usness can emerge. And to the extent to which we begin to get usness, then the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. But we may actually hit the buffers, in that there's a lot of stuff in the relationship underneath the surface that is potentially conflictual, where there isn't agreement, and we're wondering what's going on. It's potentially hidden and underneath the surface, but that is a zone of subterranean conflict, if you like. And again, all of these can shift around in terms of different proportions. When it's me versus you, it becomes an either or outcome. Either I win or you win. Yep, so it's either or. It's not win-win, it's win-lose. If we move into the us zone and we begin to complement one another, plus, it becomes both and. As I was saying earlier, the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. And that's ideally what we're looking for in a relationship, that it will flourish and be creative. But as I mentioned earlier, that conflict can be such going on underneath the surface that the outcome is neither nor. Neither you win nor I win. So that's a wipeout down there. I do find this really helpful in terms of looking at, as I said earlier, relationships and many other situations in terms of what is going on in the middle here. At the time of producing this video, we're right in the middle of the Brexit stuff, and we can see this approach avoidance conflict going on hugely, because we're now trying to extract ourselves from this relationship with Europe. And the whole issue is, how do we negotiate this? Can we produce a win-win outcome, or is it going to be a win-lose outcome, or is it going to be a situation where neither party wins? And at present, it's being fought out big time. This is a war zone. And right now, it's immediately after Theresa May has come back from Europe, and these issues are going to be worked out. It's going to be put before Parliament, and we know that that's going to be a war zone. So I hope that makes some sense. It's largely applied, as far as I'm concerned, to interpersonal relationships, but you can see how the same applies to international affairs. I hope you found that helpful.